We have mapped the visible fortress, its walls, its rules, its victims and kings. But the true dominion of such a system lies in the territories it conquers within the human mind, the collective memory, and the very language used to describe reality. To understand its full power, we must venture into these unspoken realms. The psychology of the successful captive queen Ames revisited. We met Ames as a perpetrator of horrific violence. But to see her only as a monster is to miss the system's most tragic victory. She was likely once a young girl dedicated to the underrun, taught that her worth was her lineage and her utility to the king. She learned the single law of her universe: power is the only currency, and cruelty is its most secure form. Her brutal mutilation of Roz as Tess' wife was not just revenge, it was a masterful performance of power for an audience of one Xerxes and the watching court. It signaled, "I understand your rules. I will enforce them more fiercely than you to secure my place within them." She internalized the system's logic so completely that she became its most effective enforcer. Her agency was real, but it was an agency of the damned, the freedom to choose how best to survive and dominate within an inescapable hell. Her story is the ultimate warning: the cage doesn't just break people, it can remake the strongest of them into its most terrifying wardens. The architecture of thought ritual as mental prison. Beyond stone walls, the Persians built psychological ones through relentless ritual. Every day was a script. The precise movements of perskinesis, the formalized language of address, the order of ceremonies, these weren't just traditions. They were exercises in obedience, repeated until they became muscle memory and thought pattern. They created a cognitive universe where questioning was not just dangerous, but literally unthinkable. The mind, conditioned by daily ritual, stops generating certain thoughts. A courtier's brain, trained to see the king as a shimmering icon, may simply no longer be able to access the concept of him as a fallible, cruel man. This mental architecture was more durable than any palace wall. The economy of secrets and whispers. In a world of official silence, information became a dark, precious commodity. The underrun in the court thrived on a shadowy economy of whispers. A eunuch might trade a snippet about the king's mood for a promise of protection from a noble. A servant might withhold news of a pregnancy for a bag of silver. A concubine might whisper a false rumor to eliminate a rival. This created a pervasive, low-grade terror where truth was unknowable and everyone was a potential spy. Trust was impossible, paranoia was rational, and the entire social fabric was woven from threads of suspicion and deceit. This environment didn't just allow atrocities, it actively bred them, as preemptive strikes and demonstrations of power became the only sensible strategies. The era sewer from time when history is a clean minus-up job. The Persian official records are a masterpiece of omission. But we must ask, how was this managed in real time? Scribes and artisans were not just record-keepers, they were curators of royal reality. A commander who fell from favor might have his image meticulously chiseled off a monument. An entire campaign that ended in disgrace might simply vanish from the annual chronicles. The Greek historians Ctesias, who claimed to have accessed Persian royal archives, noted their dry, analytic style, a list of events stripped of context, motive, or emotion. This was history as administrative filing, designed to leave no narrative hooks for doubt or dissent. The women of the Run suffered a double erasure, first from life, then from history. Their births, lives, and deaths were often deemed irrelevant to the grand narrative of empire unless they caused a crisis. We know Ames' name only because of her violence. How many queens lived and died in total silence? Their story is considered unworthy of even a footnote in the royal legend. A glimpse of an alternative, the forgotten voices of resistance. While systemic, the control was never absolute. Resistance flickered in forms often too small for history books, but vital to acknowledge. It could be the irrational melancholy of a princess, noted by a puzzled doctor. It could be the deliberate misunderstanding of an order-bound servant, creating a tiny pocket of inefficiency. It could be a song sung in a forgotten dialect, preserving a memory of a world outside the walls. The less profound, tragic resistance might have been internal, the stubborn, private preservation of a self that the system could not touch. A woman might remember her childhood name, cling to a memory of her mother's face, or find a moment of genuine feeling for another prisoner. These were acts of mental rebellion. Proof that the human spirit could not be fully standardized, even in the most perfected cage. The lesson in the echo, why we must strain to hear. Today, The story of Xerxes and his court is often reduced to a spectacular footnote in the clash of civilizations with Greece. But to do that is to miss its universal core. This is not a story about ancient Persians being barbaric. It is a case study in the absolute corruption of power. It demonstrates with terrible clarity that the greatest monuments can be built by the most broken systems, and that gold can plate profound despair. Listening for the echoes in the cold analysis of power dynamics, in the psychology of abuse, in the methods of information control and historical erasure is not about condemning a long-minus dead empire. It is about honing our senses. It is practice for recognizing the same patterns in softer forms, in different uniforms behind modern facades. The final truth of Persepolis is not that it fell. It is that for nearly 2 centuries, it stood, glorious and rotting, a testament to the fact that a world can be brilliantly ordered, breathtakingly beautiful, and fundamentally inhumane all at once. And that is a truth we must carry with us, a tuning fork to test the resonance of our own times. Alice leads you back to your chamber. Several other ladies are already waiting. They are from noble families set to serve you and learn the ways of court. They are not exactly friends. True friendship, as we understand it, was common for medieval nobility. These girls are both your servants and your competition. They watch your every move. They report back to their families about the princess they serve. Lady Catherine will be here soon for your French lessons, Alice says, helping you change into a simpler gown. Your father says you'll need extra practice now. Of course he does. The clock is ticking. You are being transformed from an English princess into a French bride. Learning the language isn't just about communication. It's about survival. The chamber feels slightly warmer now. The morning fire has been burning for a while. Your ladies busy themselves, preparing your study materials. One of them, Margaret, looks at you with sympathy. She knows what it means to be married off. Her own sister was sent to Scotland last year. They haven't heard from her since. I hear the French court is very grand, Margaret offers, trying to be kind. Much more refined than ours. What she doesn't say, but you both know, is that the French will find every flaw in you. Your manners, your speech, your appearance. You'll be judged without mercy. You're the foreign bride, the outsider. No amount of preparation will ever feel like enough. Lady Catherine arrives. Your heart sinks. She is a stern woman with thin lips. She spent time at the French court in her youth and never lets anyone forget it. She carries a small wooden paddle. She uses it to hit your knuckles when you mispronounce a word. Bonjour, mademoiselle, she says sharply. No pleasantries in English. You stare at her blankly. You've been learning French for years. All noble children do. It's the language of diplomacy. But you are nowhere near fluent, and now your entire future depends on mastering it. Rape easy, she snaps, pointing at you. We have much to do today. You try. God, you try. Whack. The paddle comes down on your knuckles. Pain shoots up your arm. But you don't cry out. Princesses don't show pain. Again Lady Catherine demands. La princesse d'Angleterre. And so it goes for 2 painful hours. Your tongue twists around unfamiliar sounds. Your throat tightens. Your knuckles throb. By the end, you can barely make a fist. What they don't tell you in fairy tales is that medieval education, especially for girls, was often brutal. No positive reinforcement. No gold stars for effort. Only success or failure. And failure meant punishment. Better, Lady Catherine finally says, though her face shows no satisfaction. Tomorrow we will work on court etiquette. The French have different customs. You must not embarrass your family. As if you needed the reminder. As if the weight of your kingdom's diplomatic relations doesn't already rest on your young shoulders. Lady Catherine leaves. You flex your fingers, wincing. One of your ladies rushes forward with a small pot of salt. It's made from herbs grown in the castle garden. This too is part of your education. Learning which plants heal, which soothe. Medieval medical knowledge was primitive, but it was passed down from woman to woman across generations. Time for your needlework, my lady, Alice announces. Another lady brings forward your embroidery frame. This at least is something you're good at. All noble girls learn needlework from the time they can hold a needle. It's not just decorative, it's practical. In a world before mass production, everything is made by hand. Queens and peasants alike spend hours every day making and mending. Your current project is a religious scene. The angel Gabriel telling Mary she will bear the Son of God. The symbolism isn't lost on you. Like Mary, you have no choice but to accept the fate handed to you by men. The work is detailed and demanding. You are using silk threads imported from the East. The gold thread for the angel's halo is actual gold pounded thin. Your family's wealth is literally woven into the fabric. Smaller stitches, Alice reminds you, inspecting your work. A French lady would use stitches so small they can hardly be seen. You sigh and pull out the last row. You start again. Your back aches from hunched over. Your eyes strain in the dim light. Even on bright days, medieval castles are dark inside. Candles and oil lamps are expensive. You work mostly by daylight. Your productive hours are limited, especially in winter. Tell me about the French court, you say to Alice as you work. What should I expect? Alice purses her lips. It's more formal than here. More political. Everyone watches everyone else. They look for advantages. For weaknesses. It sounds awful. You mutter. You prick your finger for the third time. A drop of blood stains the white linen. You'll have to work it into the pattern somehow. It's survival, Alice corrects you. Court life is a battlefield without swords. Words are the weapons. Alliances are the armor. And unlike men, women can't settle disputes with a duel. We must be cleverer, more patient. This, too, is your education. Learning the unwritten rules. How to read people's intentions behind their polite words. How to navigate the dangerous waters of noble politics. A single misstep could mean disaster for you and your family. Will you come with me? You ask suddenly. To France? Alice's face softens. If your father permits it. Some of us will accompany you. Though many of your ladies in France will be French. Chosen by your husband's family. To help you adjust, she means. And to spy on you. To report your every word and deed back to your new family. To make sure your loyalties shift from England to France. The morning passes in silence after that. The only sounds are needles through fabric and the occasional instruction. Your thoughts drift to France. Will your husband be kind? Will you be allowed to bring your favorite books? Will anyone there care about what you want, what you think, what you feel? You know the answer. No one cares now. Why would that change? Midday approaches. It's time to change clothes again for the meal. This time you dress more formally. There are visitors at the castle. Minor nobles from nearby estates. They come to pay respects to your father. And to get a look at you. The princess was made such an advantageous match. You are a curiosity now. A success story in the medieval marriage market. Your value has just increased. The great hall is noisy and crowded. You take your place at the high table. You are careful. Back straight. Eyes lower and hands folded. Speak only when spoken to. The perfect medieval lady. You give no one any reason to criticize. The meal is more elaborate than breakfast. Roasted meats, fish, bread, cheese, vegetables prepared with expensive spices. Wine flows freely. You eat little. Your stomach is still tight with anxiety. Besides, it's not ladylike to show too much appetite. Medieval beauty standards prized anti-senescent paleness. The plump, rosy cheeked ideal came much later. My daughter, your father calls down the table. You jump. Lady Catherine tells me your French still needs work. Dozens of eyes turn to you. He tries in your cheeks. Yes, father. I am trying. Try harder, he says bluntly. I will not have the French court laughing at English education. You nod, eyes lowered again. Humiliation burns through you. Public criticism is just another tool. Shame is motivation. Fear is incentive. Perhaps the princess would benefit from a French lady in waiting, suggests a visiting noble. Someone who could speak with her throughout the day. Your father considers this, then nods. A practical suggestion. I will arrange it. And just like that, another decision about your life is made without your input. Another stranger will be thrust into your daily routine. Another person to judge you. After the meal, you are allowed a brief period in the castle garden. It's one of the few times you're permitted outdoors. Even then, you are closely watched. Medieval noble girls don't run or shout or climb trees. Your recreation is a sedate walk. Perhaps some gentle ball games or dancing practice. The garden itself is mostly functional. Herbs for cooking and medicine. Vegetables. Fruit trees. Beauty is secondary to utility. Tell me about Prince Philip, you say to Alice as you walk. What do you know? Alice hesitates. He is 17. 4 years older than you. They say he is interested in scholarly pursuits. That could mean anything. In a world where physical strength is prized, being scholarly isn't always a compliment. They say he is kind to his servants, Alice adds. That is rare enough to be noticed. It's something. Kindness isn't a quality much value in medieval nobility. Power, strength, cunning, these matter. If Philip is known for kindness, perhaps your life won't be completely miserable. Will I get to meet him before the wedding, you ask? Alice shakes her head. Unlikely. The negotiations are done by proxies. You will probably meet him for the first time at the ceremony. Medieval royal marriages are business arrangements. Political alliances sealed with vows. The idea that you should meet your spouse beforehand would have seemed absurd. Your afternoon lessons begin after the garden walk. They focus on household management. This is the skill you'll need as the lady of a grand estate. That's what a princess becomes after marriage, a manager. Brother Thomas, a monk who serves as the castle's clerk, arrives. Today's lesson is on household spending. A well-run household reflects God's order in tones. Wastefulness is a sin. Carelessness is a sin. Ignorance of your resources is a sin. Everything is a sin in medieval Christianity. The fear of hell is the ultimate control mechanism. Brother Thomas sets a wax tablet before you. It's covered in neat rows of Roman numerals. Calculate the cost of feeding the kitchen for 1 month, he instructs. It's tedious, painstaking work. Arabic numerals exist but aren't widely used yet. Calculations that would take us seconds take you long, frustrating minutes. Your head aches. You must know these things, Brother Thomas says sharply when you make a mistake. A lady who cannot manage her household is at the mercy of dishonest servants. He is right. In the medieval world, numeracy is as important as literacy for a noble lady. You'll be responsible for vast estates and hundreds of people. If you can't manage resources, your household will fall into disarray. And that reflects poorly on your husband. After mathematics comes music, another essential skill, not for personal joy, but because it increases your value. A princess who can entertain at court is more useful. Sister Agnes from the convent arrives with a small harp. Your fingering has improved, she says as you play a simple melody, but your timing still falters. Music in medieval Europe was mostly religious hymns. Secular love songs were considered improper for young noble ladies. Those came later. Your lesson is cut short. A messenger arrives from your mother. The queen requests your presence. You follow the messenger to your mother's chambers. They are larger and more luxurious than your own. Inside, she is surrounded by her ladies. They are working on an enormous tapestry. Daughter, she acknowledges you with a nod. Come see what we are making for your wedding. The tapestry shows your family's crest joined with the French royal crest. The work is exquisite. Your mother is known for her skill. His tapestry will travel with you to France. It is a visual reminder of the political alliance your body is sealing. It is beautiful, you say, because it is. Sit, your mother commands. Work on this section. The French court will judge your needlework harshly. You must not shame us. You take your place and begin stitching. Your mother watches critically. Occasionally she corrects your technique. This too is education. Learning from the woman who has lived the life you're about to begin. I have heard about the French match, your mother says after a while. Her voice is low. Only you can hear. It is better than I hoped. Prince Philip has a reputation for gentleness. Coming from your mother, this is high praise. Will it hurt, you ask, your voice barely a whisper. You both know what you're asking about. The wedding night. Your mother's face remains impassive. Yes, she says simply. But it passes. And then it becomes tolerable. In time. Tolerable. Not pleasurable. Not joyful. Just tolerable. That is the best marital advice an evil queen can offer. Remember your duty, she continues. Provide heirs. Manage his household. Bring honor to both families. The rest is unimportant. The rest being your happiness, your desires, your personhood. All unimportant. Yes, mother, you say. Because there is nothing else to say. You work in silence, adding stitches to a tapestry that symbolizes your fate. The irony isn't lost on you. With every stitch, you are helping to create the symbol of your own life being given away. Your afternoon lessons continue. After religious instruction comes dancing. Because a princess who cannot perform complex court dances will shame her family and her husband. Master Henry, the dancing master brought from France, waits in the great hall. He is thin and elegant with a perpetual look of faint disdain for the English court he considers provincial. Mademoiselle, he greets you with a bow that is both proper and somehow ironic. Today we practice the bass dance. Very important at the French court. Very elegant. You take your position. Back straight, chin up. Arms placed just so. The musicians begin to play. The bass dance is slow and stately. It is a processional dance where the steps must be precise, the timing perfect, the overall effect one of controlled grace. It is harder than it looks. Medieval dancing isn't free movement. It's rigidly choreographed, full of symbolic gestures and formal patterns. Every step, every turn, every hand position has meaning, and all of it must be performed while wearing heavy, restrictive clothing, maintaining perfect posture, and never looking like you're exerting yourself. No, no. No, Master Henry interrupts, clapping his hands sharply. The third step is back, then left. You go left and back. All wrong. So you begin again, and again, and again. Your feet take in your thin slippers. Your back screams from the unnatural posture. Sweat trickles down your spine, making your gown stick to your skin. But you don't complain. You don't ask for a rest. You don't show any sign of fatigue or frustration. Because princesses don't do that. They endure. They persist. They perfect themselves for the roles they are required to play. After what feels like hours, Master Henry finally pronounces your performance acceptable barely and dismisses you to prepare for supper. You return to your chamber. Your ladies help you into your formal evening attire. As Alice brushes your hair allowed to be worn loose in the evening since you're still unmarried, you catch a glimpse of yourself in the polished metal mirror. Not a glass mirror, those exist but are incredibly rare and expensive. This reflection is dimmer, less defined. The face that looks back is young, so young with traces of childhood still visible. But your eyes look older, tired, resigned. This has been just one ordinary day in your education. One of countless identical days, all designed to shape you into something useful. Not to prepare you for a fulfilling life of your own, choosing that concept doesn't exist, but to make you a valuable piece in the medieval political game. Tomorrow will bring more French lessons, more religious instruction, more household management training. The day after the same. And the day after that. Until spring comes and you are shipped to France like a well-trained horse being delivered to its new owner. As Alice fastens a gold circlet around your head, the gilded cage of your privilege, you turn away from the mirror. It is time for supper, my lady, she says softly. Your father is waiting. You nod and rise, arranging your features into the serene mask expected of a princess. Whatever you feel inside, fear, resentment, grief for the life you'll never have, must remain hidden. That, perhaps, is the most important lesson of your education. True feelings are a luxury medieval princesses cannot afford. You walk to the great hall flanked by your ladies. The corridors are busier now than earlier. Servants hurry with platters and pitchers. Guards change shifts. Visitors prepare to dine with your family. The castle is like a small town. Hundreds of people live and work within its walls. And you, as the princess, are at the center of it all, watched, judged, discussed. The great hall blazes with light now. Dozens of candles and torches illuminate the space. It's the brightest and warmest the castle gets, with so many bodies packed into the stone room. The smell is a mix of food, smoke, sweat, and the herbs crushed underfoot in the rushes. As you enter, a hush falls briefly over the closest tables. People nudge each other, whisper behind hands. There she is, the princess, the one going to France, the one making such a good match. You pretend not to notice. Eyes modestly lowered, you make your way to the high table. Your father is already seated deep in conversation with the most important visitor, a bishop from a neighboring diocese, his purple robes marking his rank. Your mother sits at your father's left, silent but watchful. You take your place a few seats down. You are expected to make conversation with the bishop's secretary, a thin, nervous man with ink-stained fingers. This too is part of your duty. Entertaining guests. Making them feel welcome. Representing your family's hospitality. But there are rules. Strict rules about what a princess can discuss. I trust your journey was pleasant, sir. You begin with the expected pleasantry. He nods, clearly uncomfortable dining with royalty. Yes, your highness. Most pleasant. And your wunk for the bishop. It must be fascinating. Another safe topic, a man's work. You can ask about it. Express appropriate admiration. But never suggest you understand it or could do it yourself. The secretary relaxes slightly, launching into a description of manuscripts copied and letters written. You listen with practiced attention, making the right noises of interest at the right moments. This is a skill you've been developing since childhood, seeming engaged while your mind wanders elsewhere. Servants move through the hall bringing food. The high table is served first, of course. They get the best portions, the tenderest meat, the whitest bread, the richest sauces. Food in medieval Europe is as much about status as nourishment. The first course arrives, a soup of leeks and almond milks, served in shared bowls. Two people typically share each bowl. Another reminder that privacy doesn't exist here. You're paired with the secretary, who looks terrified at the prospect of potentially touching spoons with a princess. Please, you say, gesturing for him to begin. Always defer to male guests. Another rule: the meal progresses through multiple courses. Fish in a saffron sauce. Roasted capon. A pie filled with spiced meat. Each dish is heavily seasoned, not just for flavor, but to demonstrate wealth. Pepper, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg. These spices cost a fortune. You eat sparingly, as expected. A lady with too hearty an appetite is considered unrefined, possibly even sinful. Gluttony is, after all, one of the 7 deadly sins. Besides, the rich foods, it's uneasily in your stomach, still knotted with anxiety. Your father stands, raising his cup in a toast to the bishop. Everyone falls silent. His words are formal, full of references to church and state, the bonds between secular and religious power. Politics. Always politics, even at the dinner table. The bishop responds with equal formality. You notice his eyes wandering occasionally to the serving girls. Not all churchmen live up to their vows. It's an open secret at court. As the meal draws to a close, musicians begin to play from a gallery above. Not the formal dance music you've been learning, but livelier tunes for entertainment. Your father signals to you an almost imperceptible nod. This is your cue. Part of your duty is to demonstrate your accomplishments to honored guests. You rise and move to join the musicians where a harp has been placed. All eyes turn to you. Use it, arranging your gown carefully, positioning your fingers on the strings. The hall quiets. This is a performance, a display of your family's culture and refinement through your skill. You begin to play a religious piece. Your fingers move smoothly over the strings, producing clear, sweet notes that rise to the timbered ceiling. Years of practice. Hours of repetition. Countless corrections from tutors. All for moments like this when you serve as a living ornament to your father's court. When you finish, there is appreciative applause. The bishop nods his approval. Your father looks satisfied. Your mother's face shows nothing. But when you return to your seats, she touches your hand briefly. The closest thing to public praise you'll ever receive from her. The entertainment continues with professional musicians and acrobats. A special treat for the bishop's visit. You watch with suitable appreciation that these performers are regulars at court. As the evening wears on, your father stands, signaling the end of the formal meal. This is when the men will withdraw to discuss serious matters: politics, business, warfare, while the women return to their chambers. The gender division is absolute. You rise with your mother and the other ladies, curtsying to your father and the bishop before withdrawing. The secretary looks almost relieved to see you go. Maintaining conversation with the princess was clearly stressful for him. But your day isn't over yet. As you return to your chambers, Alice informs you of a message from the steward. There is a matter requiring your attention in the kitchens. Now, you ask, surprised. It's unusual for such things to come up in the evening. The bishop's party brought many extra mouths to feed, Alice explains. There is a question about tomorrow's provisions. This is a reminder of your other role. Not just the decorative princess, but the lady of the castle. You are responsible for the practical running of a huge household. Medieval noble women weren't just ornaments. They were managers of complex domestic operations. You follow Alice down winding stairs to the kitchen area. Unlike the great hall, which pretends at elegance, the working parts of a castle are purely functional. The kitchens are hot, smoky spaces. Massive hearths for cooking. Tables for preparation. Storage areas for supplies. The kitchen staff bow or curtsy as you enter. The head cook, the stout woman named Agnes with forearms like a blacksmith's, approaches with a worried look. Begging your pardon, my lady, she says, wiping her hands on her apron. But with the bishop's men, we're short on salt fish for tomorrow's meal. It being Friday and all. Friday. A fast day in the Christian calendar. Meat is forbidden. Fish is the main alternative. And the stores are running low. This is the kind of practical problem that falls to the lady of the castle. Not important enough for the king, but essential for the smooth running of the household and proper observation of religious rules. How many extra men came with the bishop? You ask, automatically falling into your role. 12, my lady. Plus their horses needing feed. You think for a moment. You mentally calculate the stores you know are available. This inventory management is something you've been trained in since childhood. Knowing what the castle has, how long it will last, when to get more. We have the salt herring in the north storeroom, you say. It was meant for next week, but we can use that. Send to the abbey tomorrow for more, and serve more bread and vegetable pottage to fill their bellies. Agnes nods, looking relieved. Yes, my lady. Wise thinking, that is. This small moment of decision minus making feels strangely satisfying. In the grand scheme of your life, your choices are few. But in the domestic sphere you have some power. Some control. As you turn to leave, you notice a young scullery maid watching you with wide eyes. She can't be more than 9 or 10. Her face is smudged with ash. Her hands are red from work and water. She reminds you of yourself at that age. Except her future holds only more hard labor. Yours at least is the gilded cage of royalty. On an impulse, you smile at her. She looks startled, then shyly smiles back before ducking her head and scurrying away. It's a tiny human connection across the vast gap of medieval social hierarchy. A princess and a kitchen maid. Both girls. Both bound by the rigid expectations of their stations. Neither with much say in her own destiny. You climb back up to the main level, Alice trailing behind. The corridors are quieter now. The frantic energy of mealtime has settled into the slower rhythm of evening. Guards stand at their posts. Servants move about their final tasks. The castle prepares for night. But your duties aren't quite done. Next comes a visit to the still room. This is the domain of the castle's herbalist, an older woman named Marjorie. She manages the medicinal herbs, cosmetics, and household necessities like soap and candles. The still room is one of your favorite places. It smells wonderful. A mix of dried herbs, honey, beeswax, and various distillations. It's also primarily a female space. Here, women's knowledge of plants and healing is respected and valued. Marjorie curtsies as you enter, then immediately returns to grinding dried herbs with a mortar and pestle. She's one of the few people in the castle who treats you with minimal ceremony. Perhaps because she's old enough to have seen you born. Perhaps because the practical nature of her work leaves little room for court formalities. The lavender salve is ready, she says without preamble. And I've prepared more of the rose water you like for washing. Thank you, you say, genuinely grateful. The rose water is a small luxury in a life that, despite its privilege, has few personal comforts. Sit, Marjorie instructs, nodding to a stool. Let me see your hands. You obey, holding out your hands for inspection. Despite all the care taken to preserve a princess's beauty, your hands show the effects of constant needlework. Tiny pricks and calluses. Marjorie tuts disapprovingly. She takes a small pot from a shelf and begins to apply a sweet minus-smelling ointment. French ladies wear gloves to keep their hands soft, she observes. You should do the same. This is the kind of practical advice you value. Concrete suggestions for navigating court life. Offered without the crushing weight of moral instruction from your official tutors. Will you show me how to make this before I go, you ask, nodding to the salve. So I can prepare it in France. Marjorie smiles, pleased by your interest. Of course. Though they may have different herbs there. We'll need to discuss alternatives. This exchange might seem small, but it represents another small pocket of agency in your tightly controlled life. Learning practical skills. Building knowledge that is yours alone. These are tiny rebellions. From the still room, there is one more duty before you can retire for the night. Evening prayers in the chapel. Religion in medieval Europe isn't just a set of beliefs. It's the framework that structures time itself. Days begin and end with prayer. Weeks are marked by Sundays and feast days. The chapel is dimmer now than it was for morning prayers, lit only by a few candles that cast long shadows. The space feels more intimate, more mysterious. You kneel on the hard stone floor, ignoring the discomfort. Physical discomfort is considered good for the soul. A small taste of Christ's suffering. A reminder of human frailty. Father Ambrose leads the prayers, his voice echoing. Your father isn't present, HES, still with the bishop, but your mother kneels beside you, her lips moving silently. You wonder, not for the first time, what she truly thinks behind her impassive face. Was she once like him? A young princess sent to a foreign court, expected to adapt, to bear children, to represent her family's interests? Does she ever resent the constraints of her role? These aren't questions you can ask. The gap between mother and daughter in medieval royal families isn't just generational, it's institutional. Queens and princesses have official roles to play. Emotional intimacy isn't part of the script. Evening prayers conclude. At last your official duties for the day are done. You return to your chamber. Your ladies help you prepare for bed. The elaborate gown comes off, replaced by a simple linen shift for sleeping. Your hair is brushed and braided for the night. A warming pan filled with hot coals is passed between the sheets to take the worst chill off the linen. Outside, the castle settles into its nighttime routine. Guards change shifts, calling out to each other from the battlements. Servants bank the fires. In the great hall, knights and squires prepare their pallets for sleeping. Dogs curl up near the kitchen hearths. The massive gates are barred against the dangers of the world outside. This is the rhythm of castle life. The same patterns repeated day after day. The same duties performed in the same order. The same prayers said at the same hours. There is comfort in the familiarity. Even as you know your place in this pattern will soon change dramatically. As you slip between the slightly warmed sheets, one of your ladies, Margaret, sits nearby with a small candle. She is ready to read aloud until you fall asleep. This is a luxury afforded to a princess. What shall I read tonight, my lady? Margaret asks, holding out several options. A book of Saint's lives, a collection of prayers, or a volume of more adventurous tales that somehow made its way into the castle library. The tales, you decide, feeling slightly rebellious. Stories of adventure and romance are considered somewhat frivolous for young ladies, potentially dangerous to moral character. But tonight, you want to escape. At least in your mind. Margaret begins to read, her voice soft. The story tells of knights and quests, magical forests, and mysterious castles. It bears little resemblance to the actual life of medieval nobility, but that's precisely its appeal. Your other ladies settle onto their pallets on the floor listening. Alice sits mending by the dying fire, her needle flashing in the low light. The chamber grows quiet. Only Margaret's voice and the occasional pop from the hearth. Outside, you can hear the night watch calling the hours. 10 o'clock and all's well. Their voices carry across the castle bailey. A reminder that even in darkness, the structures of medieval life continue. Someone is always watching, always guarding, always maintaining the boundaries that keep each person in their proper place. Your eyes grow heavy. The day's lessons and duties, anxieties and small triumphs blur together as sleep approaches. Tomorrow will bring more of the same. More French lessons, more religious instruction, more preparation for your role as a French prince's wife. But for now, in these quiet moments between waking and sleeping, you allow yourself to imagine alternatives. What if you weren't born a princess? What if you could choose your own path? What if girls were valued for more than their marriage prospects and childbearing capacity? These are dangerous thoughts, bordering on the sinful. Father Ambrose would certainly assign penance if he knew you questioned the divine order, but in the privacy of your own mind, as you drift towards sleep, you permit yourself this small rebellion. Margaret's voice grows more distant. The story she reads mingles with your own thoughts, creating impossible scenarios where princesses rescue themselves, choose their own husbands, or decide not to marry at all. In reality, your path is set. In a few months, you'll leave everything you know for uncourted a stranger's bed. You'll be expected to adapt, to represent English interests while becoming French in your loyalties, to produce heirs that strengthen an alliance between the sometimes hostile kingdoms. It's a heavy burden for young shoulders, but it's the burden every medieval princess carries. As sleep finally claims you, your last conscious thought is a question. In the future, will girls still be used as political pawns? Or will a time come when all women might determine their own destinies? History, if it could answer, would tell you that change comes slowly, painfully, incompletely. But tonight, you sleep untroubled by such knowledge. Tomorrow brings another day of duties and lessons, preparations and obligations. Another day of being a medieval princess. Privileged, constrained, and ultimately expendable in the great game of royal politics. The weeks pass in the same rigid pattern of prayers, lessons and duties. Winter gradually loosens its grip. The first signs of spring appear, snowdrops pushing through the frost's slightly longer days. And with spring comes the accelerating drumbeat of preparations for your departure to France. You wake one morning to unusual chaos in the castle. Servants hurry with purpose. A tense energy fills the air. What's happening? You ask Alice as she helps you dress. The French delegation has arrived early, she says, her hands moving quickly. There in the great hall. Your father has requested your presence. Your heart skips. The French party sent to finalize the marriage and escort you back. You knew they were coming, but not so soon. Not today. Is Prince Philip within? You ask, trying to keep your voice steady. Alice shakes her head. No, my lady. Just his representatives. The marriage will still be by proxy here. Of course. Aston Minison would represent your absent husband at the ceremony. You wouldn't meet the real prince until France. It was practical, given the dangers of travel, but it meant you'd be officially married to a man you'd never seen. You are dressed with unusual care. Your best gown, dark blue wool trimmed with miniver fur. Your mother's necklace, silver with sapphires. Alice adjusts your veil. They must see you at your best, she murmurs. You represent England today. No pressure. Just the entire diplomatic relationship between two kingdoms resting on the impression made by a 13-year-old girl. The great hall is formal and tense. English and French nobles sit on opposite sides of the long table, eyeing each other with the cautious respect of old rivals. Your father projects authority at the head. Your mother's face is a mask of courtly dignity. And there, halfway down the table, an empty seat waits for you, positioned directly opposite the leader of the French delegation. It sets you apart. It marks the beginning of the shift in your allegiance from England to France. You take your place, eyes modestly lowered. But you steal glances at the man across from you. He is older than expected, with grey in his dark beard. Lord Bertrand de Montfort, a cousin of the French royal family, your escort to your new life. Mademoiselle, he greets you in French, inclining his head. The honor is mine. You respond in your carefully practiced French. The honor is mine, my lord. I look forward to serving France and its royal family. Lord Bertrand looks pleasantly surprised at your command of his language. A small victory, quickly followed by the cold realization you've just demonstrated your value as a political commodity. Like a horse assessed for purchase, you've shown a desirable quality. The meeting progresses with mind-numbing discussions. The marriage contract, dowry amounts, land transfers, trade agreements, military alliances. All the ways your body and what it represents will be used for political gain. Use it quietly. Speak only when addressed. You are not a party to this negotiation. You are the object being negotiated over. And the marriage itself, Lord Bertrand asks, turning to practical matters. When? Your father glances at you. 3 weeks hence. Time enough for proper preparations. Not so long as to delay the princess's journey. 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks left in the only home you've ever known. The knowledge settles like a stone in your stomach. Excellent, Lord Bertrand nods. After the ceremony we depart immediately for Dover. Weather permitting. No time to adjust. No gradual transition. One day an English princess. The next, a French prince's wife on your way to a foreign court. The conversation shifts to your journey. The route. The accommodations. The size of your escort. A complex undertaking. And which of the princess's household will accompany her to France? Lord Bertrand asks. Your father frowns slightly. She may bring 3 English ladies of her choosing, plus her personal maid. The rest of her household will be French, of course, as is proper. 3. Just 3 familiar faces in a sea of strangers. The rest would be French ladies watching you, judging you, reporting on you. Lord Bertrand nods, satisfied. Indeed, we have already selected suitable ladies from fine French families to attend her. In fact, one such lady is accompanied our delegation. To begin the princess's adjustment. The way he hesitates makes it clear. This French lady isn't just a companion. She's here to transform you. Lady Isabelle de Brienne, a cousin of Prince Philip's mother, experienced in the ways of the French court. You look at her. She's perhaps 30, elegantly dressed in the French fashion. More elaborate headdress, more tightly fitted sleeves, more vibrant colors. She meets your gaze briefly, offers a small, reserved smile. She is assessing you just as you are assessing her. The meeting concludes. Agreements made. Documents signed. Hands shaken. The alliance is formalized. Your fate is sealed. As you rise to leave, your father calls you to his side. You will spend the afternoon with Lady Isabel, he instructs. Begin learning what will be expected of you. Not a request. An order. You find Lady Isabel waiting. Shall we walk in the garden, princess? She suggests in French. The weather is finally clement enough. You nod, not trusting yourself to speak. At least you won't be immediately shut in a chamber with this stranger, this harbinger of your new life. The castle garden shows the first green shoots of spring. Lady Isabel walks beside you, graceful and measured. Your English ladies follow at a discreet distance. You must have many questions, Lady Isabel says after a moment. About France. About the court. About Prince Philip. So many questions tangle in your throat. The one pushes forward. Is he kind? Lady Isabel's expression softens slightly. Prince Philip is thoughtful, scholarly, as you may have heard. Not given to the hunts his elder brother favors. She pauses, choosing her words. He will not be cruel to you, princess. That much I can promise. Not a ringing endorsement, but better than the alternative. You've heard enough stories of princesses married to monsters. The French court is more formal than what you know, she continues. More political. Every gesture, every word carries meaning. You will be watched constantly, judged by standards you don't yet understand. It sounds terrible. You murmur before you can stop yourself. To your surprise, Lady Isabel laughs. A genuine sound. It is rather, but it is also magnificent. The music, the art, the conversations. There's nothing like it in Europe. And as a princess, you'll have access to all of it. She stops by a stone bench and sits, gesturing for you to join her. May I speak plainly, princess? You nod, curious. Your position will be difficult at first. You are young, foreign, untested. There will be those at court who wish to see you fail, particularly the mothers of girls who might have married Prince Philip instead. The bluntness is startling, but refreshing after months of platitudes. But, she continues, you have advantages. Your youth means you can adapt. Your beauty will win some to your side. And most importantly, you are intelligent. I can see that clearly. You blink and used to being complimented for your mind. Use that intelligence, she advises. Watch before you speak. Learn who holds real power. Find allies. And most importantly, give France an heir as soon as possible. Nothing will secure your position more effectively. There it is again. The reduction of your value to your womb. How did you know, you ask suddenly. How to navigate the court? Lady Isabel's eyes grow distant. I learn it as you will. Through necessity. Through mistakes. Through humiliations. She refocuses on you. But I can help you avoid the worst of them, if you'll trust me. It's the first time anyone has offered actual, practical help. Despite yourself, you feel a flicker of gratitude. Now, Lady Isabel says, standing and resuming her formal demeanor, let us discuss French court fashions. Your current wardrobe will need significant additions. And so begins your French education in earnest. No longer theoretical, but specific, practical preparation for a reality now just weeks away. The next 3 weeks pass in a blur. The castle transforms into a hive of wedding preparations. New tapestries are hung. Provisions are ordered in enormous quantities. Guests begin to arrive from across the kingdom. Your own transformation is equally intense. New gowns are made in the French style under Lady Isabel's exacting eye. Your French lessons increase to 3 hours daily. You're taught new court dances, new table manners, new ways of walking, sitting, speaking. Back straighter, Lady Isabel instructs, tapping between your shoulder blades. Eyes level, not down as you've been taught here. A French princess shows more confidence. It's exhausting. This constant correction, this reshaping of habits formed over a lifetime. But there's no time for rest. The date approaches relentlessly. One afternoon, as you ladies fit you for your wedding gown, your mother makes a rare appearance in your chamber. She dismisses everyone with a gesture. Even Lady Isabel, who looks surprised but complies. Suddenly, you're alone with your mother. Something that almost never happens. Come, she says, moving to sit by the window. Let me look at you. You approach cautiously. She examines you with a critical eye, taking in the half-minus finished French gown, the new way you hold yourself. You look well, she finally says. The French style suits you. From your mother. This is lavish praise. I have something for you, she continues. She opens a small pouch at her belt and withdraws an object wrapped in silk. This has been passed from mother to daughter in my family for generations. She unwraps the silk. A ring. Gold set with a small, perfect ruby. Not ostentatiously valuable, but ancient, worn smooth by centuries of women's fingers. My mother gave it to me when I left Spain to marry your father, she says, her voice softer than you've ever heard it. I wore it always under my gloves, where no one could see it. A reminder of who I was before I became England's queen. She takes your hand and slides the ring onto your finger. It fits perfectly. Your loyalty must be to France now, to your husband, to the children you will bear him. Her voice returns to its measured tone. But this is to remind you that you came from somewhere, that you carry the blood of kings and queens before this marriage. You stare at the ring, then at your mother's face. For the first time, you see the young Spanish princess she once was. How frightened she must have been. How alone. Thank you, you whisper. On impulse, you lean forward and kiss her cheek. Something you haven't done since early childhood. She stiffens slightly in surprise, then places a hand briefly against your hair. Be brave, she says simply, and then she is gone, leaving you with the ring and a new understanding of the woman who has always seemed so remote. That night, lying in bed, you twist the ring on your finger. You think about the generations of women who wore it before you, all facing the same fate, all sent away from home, all expected to build new loyalties while preserving something of themselves. Did they find happiness? Did they grow to love their new countries? Or did they simply endure? There are no diaries to tell you. The inner lives of medieval queens remain largely invisible, glimpsed only through official records and the occasional purse and a item passed down. Like this ring, the wedding day arrives with the cold, gray light of a spring dawn. You are woken not by Alice but by your mother's own ladies. Today, everything changes. The ritual of dressing takes hours. First, a bath, a rare luxury scented with herbs and petals. Then layer upon layer the linen shift, the silk underdress, and finally the wedding gown itself. Cream-colored silk embroidered with gold thread and seed pearls. Its sleeves are lined with miniver fur. Its train is so long it requires two girls to carry it. Your hair is washed, dried by the fire, and arranged in elaborate braids. Unlike on a normal day, it is left partially visible, a symbol of your unmarried state. This will change during the ceremony, when you are fully veiled as a wife. Through it all, you feel a strange, hollow calm. Not happiness, not excitement, but the quiet of having no choices left. Your path is fixed. Nothing you feel can alter it. The great hall has been transformed. Fresh rushes and wildflowers cover the floor. New tapestries hang showing scenes of married saints. Hundreds of candles reflect off displayed silver and gold. The hall is full. English nobles in their finest. The French delegation looking even more elaborate. All watch as you enter on your father's arm. Music plays a stately processional. You walk slowly toward the makeshift altar, and there waits your husband. Not Prince Philip but his proxy Lord Bertrand. Beside him stands Father Ambrose. The ceremony passes in a blur of Latin. You speak your responses by rote. You extend your hand. Feel the weight of the ring as Lord Bertrand slides it onto your finger on behalf of the absent prince. And just like that, you are married. Not in body that will wait for France but in law, in politics, in the eyes of the church in both kingdoms. The feast afterward is endless. Course after course of expensive foods. Wines from the finest vineyards. Sugar sculptures shaped like the joined crests of England and France. You sit in the place of honor, now officially a French princess. The seat beside you remains empty, a reminder of your husband's absence, of the strange limbo you now occupy, a married virgin, a wife without a husband. You receive gifts, gold cups, a relic said to hold a splinter from the true cross, illuminated prayer books, jewels. Each giver approaches with formal words. You respond with equally formal thanks. Your French, now fluent, impresses even the delegation. It is all a performance, a diplomatic spectacle. Nothing about this day is for you. It is for the alliance, for the kingdoms, for the future heirs your body must produce. As the feast winds down, Lady Isabel appears at your side. "We should retire, princess," she says quietly. "Tomorrow is an early start. Tomorrow, the journey begins." You rise, make your farewells. Your father kisses your forehead, a rare public gesture. Your mother embraces you briefly. Then you are escorted back to your chamber. For your last night in the only home you've ever known. The room looks different. Your belongings are packed in trunks that line the walls. The space feels empty, echoing. Your ladies help you out of the heavy wedding gown. They fold it carefully. You will likely never wear it again. It has served its purpose. Dressed in your sleeping shift, you dismiss most of the ladies. Only Alice remains. As she brushes your hair, you study her familiar face in the mirror. "You will come with me? To France?" you ask, needing to hear it again. Alice meets your eyes in the reflection. "Of course, my lady. I've packed my things. And Margaret and Lady Eleanor and Lady Eleanor and Lady Catherine." She names the 3 other English ladies who will form your small, familiar corps in France. It is not much. Just 4 English faces among dozens of French attendants. But it is something. A piece of home. "Are you afraid?" you ask suddenly. "Of going to France?" Alice's hands pause in their brushing. "Yes," she admits quietly, "but also curious. It's a grand adventure in its way." An adventure. You hadn't thought of it like that. To you, it has been an ending. "What do you think HES like?" you ask. "Really like?" Alice considers. "I think HES probably as nervous as you are. He didn't choose this match any more than you did." It is a startling thought. You've imagined Prince Philip as a confident adult, waiting for his bride. But Alice is right. He is only 17. Also bound by duties. "Maybe HES nice," you say, sounding young. "Maybe we'll get along." Alice smiles gently. "Maybe you will. And if not, well, royal couples oft unlead separate lives once heirs are secured." Cold comfort, but realistic. Dawn breaks scald and misty on your departure day. You've barely slept. The castle courtyard is chaos. Horses stamp. Carts are loaded with your trunks. Men minus arms check weapons. Your parents wait near the gate. Your father looks impatient. Your mother's face is impassive, but her fingers worry at her sleeve, a rare sign of emotion. The goodbyes are formal, restrained. Your father kisses your forehead. "Represent England well." Your mother embraces you briefly. "Remember who you are." No tears. No dramatic scenes. Lord Bertrand bows. "We must depart, princess. The tide waits for no one." And just like that, it is time. You mount the palfrey chosen for your journey. Alice and your other English ladies mount theirs. "Ready, my lady?" Lady Isabel asks, bringing her horse alongside yours. You nod, not trusting your voice. The castle gates open. The procession moves forward. You resist the urge to look back. The journey to Dover takes 3 days. Medieval travel is slow, uncomfortable, and dangerous. The roads are muddy ruts. Your escort watches for bandits. You sleep in abbeys along the way, the safest accommodations. Still, the strong actresses harbor fleas. The food is plain. Try to rest well tonight, Lady Isabel advises as you reach the final abbey on English soil. The channel crossing can be challenging. You've never seen the sea. The prospect fills you with dread. You've heard stories of ships lost, of men made helplessly ill. That night, you barely sleep. The unfamiliar abbey feels like nowhere. A waypoint between your old life and your new one. Morning comes too quickly. A brief meal. A change into warmer clothes for the crossing. Then the procession moves again down to the harbor at Dover. The smell hits you first. Salt air mixed with fish tar, and the stench of a medieval port. Then the noise. Sailors shouting. Gulls screaming. Ships creaking. And finally the sight. The vast expanse of green water, choppy under a threatening sky. Lord Bertrand points to a ship. The Saint Marie. One of the best. It does look reassuring. Wooden. Open to the elements except for a small cabin. Dependent on wind and muscle. "Come, princess," Lady Isabel says, taking your arm. Best to board quickly. Boarding involves being carried down slippery steps to a small boat, then rowed out to the ship. The little boat bobs alarmingly. Water splashes over the sides, soaking your gown. By the time you reach the ship, you are already cold, damp, and feeling unwell. The cabin is barely large enough for a narrow bed, really just a shelf with a thin mattress. Alice and Lady Isabel will share it with you. Your other ladies must huddle on deck. The crossing usually takes half a day with good winds, Lady Isabel explains. Try to sleep. It's easier that way. Sleep proves impossible. The ship leaves the harbor and meets the full force of the channel. It pitches and rolls, creaking ominously. The small cabin reeks of tar, salt, and sickness. Within an hour, you're violently ill. Alice holds your hair as you retch miserably. Lady Isabel, surprisingly, seems unaffected. I've made this crossing many times, she says, handing you a cloth. One gets accustomed. You cannot imagine ever becoming accustomed to this. The crossing takes longer than expected. A storm blows up midway. What should have been half a day stretches into a full day and night of agony. You slip and undoubt of consciousness, aware only of the constant motion, the groaning timbers, the shouts of sailors over the wind. You find yourself praying not formal prayers, but desperate personal pleas for survival. Medieval sea travel kills countless people every year. You could disappear beneath these waves, and the political machinery would simply adjust. Another princess would be found. But finally, mercifully, the motion steadies. We're approaching Calais, Lady Isabel announces, opening the cabin door to a blast of salt air. Come, princess. You should be seen on deck as we arrive. It is the last thing you want. You are pale, unwashed, your hair tangled, your clothes stained. But once again, duty trumps comfort. Alice helps you into a clean gown. Lady Isabel leads you on deck. The French coastline is visible. A smudge of land that resolves into a harbor, a stone fortress. That's the Chateau de Calais, Lady Isabel explains. We'll stay there tonight before continuing to Paris. Paris. The French court. Prince Philip. Your future. It all becomes terrifyingly real. The welcoming party at the dock is impressive. Local nobles. Church officials. Royal guards in the French king's livery. Banners flutter. Horses stamp. You are half-minus carried off the ship, weak from the journey. A litter awaits a courtesy you are pathetically grateful for. The Chateau de Calais is smaller than your father's castle but more ornate. Inside, you are escorted to chambers prepared for you. A fire burns. A tub of steaming water waits. A bath. Thank God. The hot water, scented with lavender, is heaven. Alice washes your hair. You feel almost human again. But there is no time to rest. Barely an hour later, Lady Isabel informs you the local nobility await an audience. So you put on the mask once more, back straight, head high. You receive their bows and curtsies. You speak the formal French phrases. Your accent betrays you, but your grammar is correct. Small victories. After hours, Lady Isabel finally escorts you back. You did well, she says with what sounds like genuine approval. But rest now. The journey to Paris begins tomorrow. It is much longer. She's not exaggerating. The journey from Calais to Paris takes over a week. You stop at the castles of various nobles each night. Each night brings another formal welcome, another feast, another round of memorizing French names. The travel is grueling. The roads are rough, muddy, rutted. Your litter jolts and sways. By the third day, your back aches constantly. By the fifth, you have sores. We're making good time, Lord Bertrand assures you during a rest stop. We should reach Paris in 3 more days, weather permitting. The weather does not permit. A spring storm hits, forcing your party to shelter at a smaller manor house. Accommodations are cramped. You share a bed with Alice and Lady Isabel, all still in damp clothes. At least it's warm, Alice whispers in English. Lady Isabel, overhearing, surprises you by responding in the same language. The French countryside has its charms, even in bad weather. Though I prefer the comforts of Paris. You speak English? You ask, startled. Of course. How else would I understand what you and your ladies whisper when you think I can't? She smiles. But don't tell the others. It's a useful advantage. You laugh despite yourself. A genuine laugh, possibly the first since leaving England. The storm passes. The journey resumes. And finally, after what feels like months, the spires of Paris appear on the horizon. Notre Dame, Lady Isabel points. And there, the palace. Your new home. The French royal palace is designed to impress, not just to defend. Its walls are decorated with carvings. Its windows are larger, many with actual glass. As your procession approaches the city gates, You are met by the largest welcoming party yet. Royal guards in ceremonial armor, nobles in fine clothes, musicians on silver trumpets, and, at the center, a young man on a magnificent white horse, dressed in blue and gold. Prince Philip. Lady Isabel confirms quietly. Your husband. Your heart hammers against your ribs. He's not what you expected. Taller but slender, almost delicate, pale with features that might be called pretty. Light brown hair falls in soft waves to his shoulders. No beard. As your litter is lowered, Prince Philip dismounts and approaches. You struggle to stand on weak legs. He stops before you and bows lower than necessary. When he straightens, you see his eyes. Blue minus gray. Intelligent. Evaluating you just as you are evaluating him. Princess, he greets in French. Welcome to Paris. I trust your journey was not too arduous. The formal question. The expected response. Thank you, Your Highness. The journey was long, but well worth the destination. You drop into a curtsy. When you rise, he is still looking at you intently. You must be exhausted, he says. And there's something in his voice, a genuine concern. I've arranged for you to have time to rest before the welcome feast tonight. A small kindness. Unexpected. Thank you, you say again, and this time it's heartfelt. He offers his arm to escort you through the gates. A symbolic gesture, but also practical support. You place your hand lightly on his sleeve and step forward into your new life. Paris in spring is beautiful even through exhaustion. The city is larger, busier, more colorful than any you've seen. People line the streets, craning for a glimpse of their new princess. You smile and wave as you've been taught. The palace is overwhelming. Room after room of tapestries and painted ceilings. Furniture more delicate than the sturdy English pieces you know. Your new chambers are spacious, bright with spring sunshine. A few familiar items from England are placed among the French furnishings. I had them place your English books here, Prince Philip says, gesturing to a table near the window. Lady Isabel mentioned you enjoy reading. Again, that unexpected thoughtfulness. You spoke with Lady Isabel about me. A slight flush colors his pale cheeks. I wanted to know something of my bride beyond diplomatic reports. Before you can pursue this, protocol intervenes. Prince Philip bows again. Rest, princess. Well, speak more at the feast. And then you are alone with your ladies. The English ones look as overwhelmed as you feel. The French ones are already efficiently unpacking. He seems kind. Alice ventures in English. Yes, you agree cautiously. He does. But medieval royal marriages aren't built on kindness. They are political arrangements. A prince who notices your books is still a prince who married you for your bloodline. Still, as you finally stretch out on a bed that isn't moving, that is long enough for your body, you think perhaps, just perhaps, this forced marriage might offer more than mere endurance. Sleep claims you almost instantly, dreamless and deep. When Alice wakes you for the evening feast, you feel more rested than you've lived since leaving England. The French ladies have laid out your gown, she says, gesturing to an elaborate creation of deep blue silk trimmed with silver. It's in the French style. Of course it is. You're a French princess now. The gown is beautiful but unfamiliar. The French ladies dress you, explaining the differences. Your hair is arranged in the French style. Jewels are added. The overall effect when you glimpse yourself is of someone familiar yet strange. Yourself, but filtered through French expectations. Beautiful, Lady Isabel pronounces. The court will be impressed. And Prince Philip? You ask before you can stop yourself. Lady Isabel's eyes soften slightly. I believe he already is, princess. But yes, he will be pleased. The feast is a blur of introductions, elaborate dishes, and rapid French that leaves you struggling. You are seated beside Prince Philip. The King of France is on his other side. Prince Philip proves surprisingly helpful, quietly translating difficult phrases. He seems genuinely concerned that you understand. Tomorrow, he tells you between courses, he'll show you the palace gardens. They're at their best in spring. It like that, you reply, and are surprised to realize it's true. But beneath the pleasant conversation, an undercurrent of anxiety persists. Tonight, after the feast, comes the true consummation of your marriage. The physical union that seals the political alliance. The beginning of what society views as your primary purpose, producing heirs. You are 13 years old. You've been instructed in the basics. But instruction is not experience. The unknown looms frightening and unavoidable. As the feast winds down, that anxiety sharpens to near panic. Lady Isabel appears at your side, ready to escort you to the bedchamber where the consummation will take place. In French royal tradition, you will be ceremonially prepared, blessed by a priest, and then left alone with your husband. "Breathe, princess," Lady Isabel murmurs as you rise. "Just breathe."